Welcome to Mill Creek Kids Online. Well, it's been a great run. It's been a couple years since we started doing Mill Creek Kids Online, but all good things must come to an end. Masks are off, we're back in person, and so we are going to be transitioning into some new things. We would love for your feedback, though, for what you've experienced over the last couple years. Below, you're going to find a link that will take you to a survey, which will just give us some feedback on how this benefited you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you in person.
I'm a bunny, and it's not funny how people think Easter's just a time for hunting eggs. I'm a bunny. Listen, sonny, Easter is all about J-E-S-U-S. The stone was rolled away on that first Easter day, and for our sins he died. But now Jesus is alive. I'm a bunny, and it's not funny how people think Easter's just a time for hunting eggs. I'm a bunny. Listen, sonny, Easter is all about J-E-S-U-S. After Jesus arose, an angel in white clothes gave the women the good news. He's alive, peace be with you. I'm a bunny, and it's not funny how people think Easter's just a time for hunting eggs. I'm a bunny. Listen, sonny, Easter is all about J-E-S-U-S. So I hope you kids are smart, I sure do, and you ask Jesus in your heart. Easter's not just about eggs and new clothes. Easter's when God's only son arose. I'm a bunny, and it's not funny how people think Easter's just a time for hunting eggs. I'm a bunny. Listen, sonny, Easter is all about J-E-S-U-S. Oh, Easter is all about J-E-S-U-S. Sure is. I don't know why people think Easter's about something else.
We were made in the image of God. Every man, woman, boy, and girl. We were made in the image of God. God so loved that it changed the world. We can change the world. In the beginning, when God made people, He made a boy, He made a girl, gave us dominion over creation, told us to go into all the world. We were made in the image of God. Every man, woman, boy, and girl. We were made in the image of God. God so loved that it changed the world. We can change the world. Made in the image we were. Made in the image of. Made in the image we were. Made in the image of. In the beginning, when God made people, He made a boy, He made a girl, gave us dominion over creation, told us to go into all the world. We were made in the image of God. Every man, woman, boy, and girl. We were made in the image of God. God so loved that it changed the world. We can change the world. Made in the image we were. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, 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 I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine all over the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, let it shine all over the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine all over the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, 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 I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, 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 I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah.
For the last 2 weeks, we have been learning about the last week of Jesus' life. We talked about him riding into Jerusalem on a donkey. We got to see him clearing the temple. And today, we're going to be talking about the Last Supper, the last time he shared food with his disciples. So go ahead, watch the video, and we'll come back.
Stories of the Bible. The Last Supper. This is Jesus.
Heyo!
Who is the Son of God and the Savior of the world. While Jesus was on earth, he taught everyone about God's love and healed people from their sickness. He did many miracles like calming storms and even raised people from the dead.
Wahoo!
At this time, the Jewish people were celebrating a festival called Passover that had been celebrated since the time of Moses, when God brought his people out of Egypt. So Jesus was going to Jerusalem to celebrate. The disciples asked Jesus where he wanted to eat the Passover meal that night. Jesus said, "As you go into the city, a man carrying a pitcher of water will meet you.
Hello.
Follow him. At the house he enters, say to the owner,
Hi.
The teacher asks, where is the guest room where I can eat the Passover meal with my disciples? He will take you upstairs to a large room that is already set up. That is where you should prepare our meal. The disciples found everything to be just as Jesus had said. Later that evening, Jesus arrived with the 12 disciples. They sat down to eat, and Jesus said that he was happy to be with everyone. As they were eating, Jesus took some bread and blessed it. He said, "Take it, for this is my body, which is given for you." Jesus told them to do this to help remember him. Then he took a cup of wine and gave thanks to God for it. And he said to his disciples, "This is my blood. It is poured out as a sacrifice to forgive the sins of many." Jesus said, "One of you eating with me here will betray me." He told them that things were supposed to happen this way, but that great sadness would await the one who betrays him. The disciples were very upset and asked, "Am I the one? Who is he talking about?" Judas asked Jesus, "Am I the one?" And Jesus said, "You have said it." One of the disciples asked Jesus, "Lord, who is it?" Jesus said it was the one who he would give the bread to. He gave the bread to Judas, and Jesus said, "Hurry and do what you're going to do." None of the others at the table knew what Jesus meant, so Judas left at once to betray Jesus. Then Jesus comforted and encouraged the disciples. He promised them that they would have a helper come when Jesus was gone. They all sang a song to God together.
I think what's so interesting about the time when Jesus was with his disciples is that food was such an important part of their life together. Sometimes their meals would last 3, 4, 5 hours as they would sit around a table having conversation and just enjoying time together. So how cool it was that the last time when he had all of his disciples together, they were around a table sharing food. And then he begins to talk about who he is, and he begins to say he's the bread of life. And how important that is, because that is like food. We all need food to live, right? We all need Jesus to live. And so as he's sharing that, he begins to talk about how he's going to leave the disciples and not be there. They don't even know yet what's going to happen in just a couple of days. So as you look and begin to think about the time that you're with your family around the table, and you begin to talk about your life together and things that go on and share bread together, just remember this as you talk around the table is, Jesus is the bread of life. He is the giver of life, and he loves you. So I can't wait for Craft Corner because we have something fun that you can do together as a family. Welcome to Craft Corner Baking Edition.
Yes.
Okay, we're so excited. We talked about the Last Supper and how Jesus broke bread, and he talked to the disciples about that, and they were able to eat together, and he talked about all about how he was the bread of life. Pretty exciting. So we decided we're making bread in a bag. Something you can do at home.
Yes.
Super easy and not super messy.
Right.
Right?
It's contained.
So go online, you'll see we have the recipe. It's called bread in a bag. There it is. So what we've got in these baggies, all you need is a baggie. Mm-hmm. Okay, now we've split the recipe up. If you're gonna make the whole full recipe, use a gallon bag. Because otherwise it'll get full really fast.
Right.
So go ahead, put your flour and your yeast and the sugars in here, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna activate the yeast. So go ahead and pour some water in yours, about a third of that. And then once you're done, you seal it back up. Don't forget to seal it back up. That's an important part.
Don't forget to seal it back up.
You're gonna seal it back up, and you're gonna begin to mix it and to knead it together. Okay? So
I need you.
That's right. And so you just squish it with your hand. It's kind of fun. Get it all nice
totally
and
fun.
mixed. And then what's really cool is that you're gonna actually set it aside for about 10 minutes, and then you can watch the yeast get activated.
Look at all bubbly.
Because it begins to get bubbly and it begins to grow, and you can start actually begin to smell it. Even now, you can smell the yeast that's in there. It's awesome.
I can see that my bag is actually.
And it's starting. It's gonna start. It's like a science experiment, right? It's gonna start getting some air in it. So when that gets to be 10 minutes, then what you're gonna do is you're gonna add a little bit more flour. So we're gonna go ahead of the process, but we've got some flour here. We're gonna mix it in. This also has some salt in it, and we're gonna put that in. And now we're gonna knead it again. No, that's next time. That's next step. So we're gonna add some more flour. Nope, you're right. We need to add the oil. There we go. Yeah, so we're gonna add a little bit of oil. We're gonna pour just about a tablespoon in here.
You can have your parents help you measure. That looks good. And you're gonna mix it together until it gets nice and mixed. And you'll notice it's starting to become a dough,
Yes.
right? You can start to see a dough.
Total doughy.
And it begins to smell so good right now.
Especially with the olive.
Oh, it does, with the olive oil in it and that yeast. I love the smell of fresh bread. So then what you're gonna do, after you get that all nice and mixed, you're gonna add your last bit of flour. All this is in the instructions and your parents can help you. And you're gonna add it and then you're gonna mix it together. And this is the fun part, because this is what is the most important part of when you're making bread with yeast, is that you need to develop the gluten, right? The gluten, because that's what helps it rise, that's what gives it a stretchiness. And so you're going to just knead it now.
Yeah.
And knead it and knead it. You're gonna need to knead it for 5 minutes. You need to knead for 5 minutes.
You need to knead.
Yes. You have the need for kneading. So there it is. And you're just gonna keep kneading. You're gonna knead for about 5 minutes because you want to get all that stuff activated in there.
But all it's good food.
Exactly.
Ooh, it's like becoming dough.
Exactly.
It's like a
yours is
full-on
separated.
dough.
Yeah. It's fun.
It's no longer gooey. It's,
Yeah.
well, a little bit gooey, but
So once you get to a
It's
place where it's coming away from the bag, like if you look at Lynette's, it's
Yeah.
coming away from the bag. Lynette, you want to take it out and you're going to put it in your baking pan.
all right.
So she's going to get it in there.
A little bit better.
Yep, there it goes. So she's going to foam it in there a little bit, make sure it. Then what you're going to do is you're going to set it in a warm corner, right? And you're going to set it in a warm corner, cover it with like a paper towel or a kitchen towel, and let it raise for 30 minutes.
Lovely.
And it'll be fun. You can watch it. You can go check it because you're going to see that where it starts off looking like this, it's actually going to fill the whole pan. And then after it raises for 30 minutes, then you're going to go ahead, put it in the oven and bake it. And out comes a loaf that looks like this.
It's beautiful.
I know, isn't that awesome? Isn't
Ain't
it
that all
gorgeous?
bumpity?
It does, and this is perfect. Slice it, get some bread and jam, and you are toasted. So much you can do with
It's a
it.
great idea.
It'll be a fun family meal together to break bread together.
You could
and
take
have
communion.
conversation. That's
Yeah.
right, you could.
Have some
Yeah.
people
If you want to.
There you are. So we really hope that you have fun making bread at home. And the best part was when it's all over, the mess is it's just
Our table's
throw
so
it-
Toss
our
that in the
table-
garbage.
Exactly. So happy Last Supper.
Yeah.
Happy Last Supper.
Enjoy eating.
Bye.